What's up, Galilee kids? My name is Colin, and I am so glad you guys are tuning in today. I hope you all have had a fantastic week. As if we were all together right now. Galilee kids, I want to hear one awesome thing you have done this week. If you are in kindergarten or first grade, I want you to shout out one awesome thing you've done this week. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Second and third grade, I want to hear one totally rockin' cool thing you have done this week. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Fourth and fifth graders, last but not least, I want to hear one totally crazy awesome thing you've done this week. If that was playing a lot of video games after you're done with school, or if that was watching a movie, whatever it is, I want you to shout it out on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Well, today I'm so excited to be with you guys as we wrap up our series called DIY, Do It Yourself. And we've been talking about one word for the last several weeks. Can you guys tell me what the word is? Well, if you said forgiveness, you are 100% correct. The word we have been talking about is forgiveness. And forgiveness is something we show in the moment where we're showing grace to someone, even when they don't deserve it. Here's an example. Let's say a friend of yours takes your favorite basketball. You play it every day, and a friend of yours took it. One day, your friend brings your basketball back to you, apologizes for taking it. What do you do in that moment? Do you say something mean to them? Or do you thank them for bringing it back to you and show forgiveness to them? I would say the right thing to do would be to show forgiveness to them and thank them for bringing the basketball back to you. And then you guys can play basketball together. Now, that doesn't mean that taking the basketball was the right thing to do, but even when someone doesn't deserve forgiveness, we're showing them grace because we all make mistakes. Here's another example. Let's say your brother or your sister called you a mean name this last week. I remember growing up, I had a younger sister, and her and I called each other mean names all the time. And there were plenty of moments where I had to show forgiveness to her, and she had to show forgiveness to me sometimes. And I'm so glad her and I chose to show forgiveness to each other because her and I have a great relationship today. But I know if we had not chosen to show forgiveness to each other, we may not have had the great relationship that we do have today. And so forgiveness is so important because it affects every single relationship that we have. Today, as we wrap up our series on forgiveness, we're actually going to continue our story from this last weekend. And I'm going to reintroduce our story characters to you. We have 3 characters. They are Joe, Bob, and Larry. So Joe is the dad in our story, and he had 2 sons, Bob and Larry. And last weekend, our story was primarily about Joe and Bob. And we'll still talk about them today, but Larry is going to join our story today. But before we get to that, I want to recap real quick our story from this last weekend. So our story started with Bob, and Bob wanted something called an inheritance. And an inheritance for some is a lot of money, or it could be this huge house, or it could be a ton of different things. And typically, the inheritance was given to the son or daughter of a family when their father died. And so in this case, Bob was going to receive his inheritance when his father died. Now, Bob did not want to wait till then. He didn't want to wait a year. He didn't want to wait a week. He wanted his inheritance today. And so Bob went to his dad, Joe, and said, Dad, I want my inheritance today. And so Joe decided to give him his inheritance. And Bob decided to get to this faraway country. He had this huge house. He had all of his favorite food. He had all of his favorite things because they had the money to get all those things. But eventually, Bob ran out of his inheritance money. He had nothing left. And so Bob had a tough decision to make. He could either go work at a pig farm, feed pigs and eat pig's food, bleh, or he could go home to his family and tell his dad the truth. Well, Bob decided to go work at this pig farm. Can you imagine working at a pig farm? I don't think I would ever want to work at a pig farm. I don't know about you. But to Bob, that seemed like the best decision at the moment. Well, later on, the place where Bob was, they ran out of food, they ran out of money, they had nothing. So Bob was stuck again. And this time he knew he would need to go home and be honest with his dad about what he had done. So Bob goes home and he's running towards his house and his dad sees him. And Joe does something I don't think Bob was expecting at all. I can imagine as Bob is running up to his house, he's probably thinking, well, my dad's probably going to be pretty upset with me once I tell him I've spent all of my inheritance money, and knowing that money's not coming back. It's not where he just spend the money and then get more later. That money is forever gone. So I can imagine Bob is probably freaking out about this moment. Joe is running to get to his son, and Bob tells him the truth. He said this, Dad, I have used all my inheritance money. I have sinned against you. I have sinned against God. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Bob fully realizes that what he did was wrong. But Joe decided to do something that Bob did not expect. Joe decided to show forgiveness. Joe wasn't concerned about the money. He was so happy that his son Bob had just come home. And so Joe was so excited, he decided to throw this huge party for his son. Joe had a lot of servants. And so Joe said to his servants, hey guys, bring the robe, bring my son's sandals, bring the food. We are going to have this huge feast, all because my son who was lost has come home. And so in that moment, Bob was shown forgiveness and grace that he may have not deserved. But Joe decided to show forgiveness and grace anyway because he knew that God had forgiven him. And so that was our story from last weekend. Today, our story continues with Larry. And Larry is the older brother in the family. So throughout the story, Larry has been working out the fields. Larry is a good guy. He has done everything his father has asked of him. Larry is a good guy. Now he finds out about this party that his dad is throwing for his brother. And Larry is furious. Larry walks up to his dad and says, Dad, why are you throwing this party for Bob, who has spent all of his inheritance money? He has done these horrible things, and yet You're throwing a party for him when I have done none of those things, and yet you've never thrown a party for me. Why is that? And so Joe says in response to that, Larry, come join the party. It doesn't matter who's done what. We're celebrating because your brother, my son, has come home. And Larry is really jealous of how his brother is being treated when Larry felt he had done nothing wrong. And so Larry has a decision to make. Is he going to go celebrate with his brother and his family? Or is he going to go back and work in the fields and be jealous of his brother? Well, we don't know 100% what Larry decided to do. But I can tell you this. If Larry decided to show forgiveness and not show jealousy towards his brother, I can imagine they would have had a great relationship. Now, if Larry had decided to not show forgiveness and continue to show jealousy, they probably had a really bad relationship. And so this story is a reminder for all of us that no matter what we've done, everyone needs to be forgiven. And when you don't forgive, you miss out. And that's our bottom line for today. When you don't forgive, you miss out. Think about this. Think about something that you felt like you could not miss out on. I know some examples in my life. I remember about a year ago, one of the biggest movies of the entire year came out in the theaters, Avengers Endgame. Any other Avengers fans? Oh yeah, the Avengers are awesome. And I remember I could not miss seeing that movie, no matter what. And I remember going to see it as soon as it came out with a friend of mine, and it was awesome. Now, I can give you some other examples. I remember when I had seen a friend of mine I had not seen in forever. I knew I could not miss out on seeing that friend. And it was awesome to see him. We all have moments like that where we want something and we know we cannot miss out on it. For you, maybe it's this toy you've been waiting for so long to get. Maybe it's a doll, or maybe it's this basketball, whatever it is for you. You know that you can't miss out on it. Now, let's say we thought about forgiveness in the same way. If we knew that we need to show forgiveness and we just could not miss out on it, treating it like it is the coolest thing ever, what do you think your relationships would look like? Forgiveness affects every single relationship that we have because we all make mistakes. And regardless of who made the mistake or how many times they've made that mistake, when we don't forgive, we miss out. Doesn't mean that what we did or what the other person did was right. But because God has shown forgiveness and grace to us, we have the opportunity to show that same forgiveness and grace every day to others around us. If you don't remember anything else I've said today, I want you to remember this. When you don't forgive, you miss out. I'm going to pray for us, and then I will share a couple of final things with you before we end for today. Father, thank you. Thank you for loving us and forgiving us each day. Would you give us the courage and the strength to show forgiveness to others, even when they don't deserve it? There are moments where we don't deserve forgiveness. And so, God, would you help us to view forgiveness as something that we cannot miss out on, as if it is the most important thing we could do every single day. Help us to have that perspective about forgiveness. God, we love you so much. And it is in your name we pray all of these things. Amen. Well, families, as you guys wrap up our kids service for today, you have a couple of activity pages that have been sent to your email, or you can find them on our social media page. I would highly encourage you guys to check out those activities so you guys can dig deeper into this lesson together as a family. I want to share one other quick theme with you. Starting next Wednesday, April 1st, we are going to do something we have not done before. The Galilee Kids Lego Challenge. I know right now we're all spending a lot of time at home. And so for every day in April, we are going to have a Lego challenge for your family. It could be building a new spaceship. It could be building this huge roller coaster. We've got all kinds of fun challenges. And what you're going to get to do is, based on the calendar that we'll send to you next week, you will follow the challenge for that day and then post pictures to our social media page. And who knows, there might be some surprises in there. We'll see. But just know that we're going to be sending that calendar to you this next week. Keep an eye out for it, and we would love for you to be a part of that Lego challenge with us for the month of April. Parents, if you have any questions about the lesson or about the Lego challenge or anything else as we are in this season of meeting remotely, please let me know. I am so thankful for your family, and I will talk to you all again soon.